Welcome back to another rock show reviews from your wonderful MPJ. I'm your host Nigel. Welcome to my panel, to Dom, to William, and to Trish. Welcome,
Good morning.
Get better soon to Simon, who is not well at the minute, in bed with flu. What's the show all about? We are reviewing the latest rock albums, and we have put in 2 albums head to head. Which would we buy? Will them, all of them, get to our Hall of Fame? It's been an exciting month so far. Long may it continue. So we're up against... Who are we up against today? We have got Oblivion Protocol and their album Fall of the Shires against Valkeat and their album Fireborn. Dun, dun, dun. So who are Oblivion Protocol, Fall of the Shires? Recently announced their signing to Atomic Fire Records, and today the new project of Threshold keyboard player and songwriter Richard West unveiled first details of a debut album, The Fall of the Shires, which will be released later this year. The record was written as a sequel to Threshold, the 2007 concert of the album Legend of the Shires, and delivers a dense, climatic sound somewhere between Rush, Stephen Wilson, The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, and hard rock masters Ghost, all the while providing a listener with clever little nods, bows, and references to the first installment. Right, well, let's find out. Fall of the Shires, which is Lord of the Rings-esque, isn't it? But it's not, is it? Let's be honest with you. Trish, let's start with you then. What do you think of Oblivion Protocol? Heard of them?
Not heard of them. The album starts with space sounds and an android, then that cuts and is followed by a very much Pink Floyd sound, Wish You Were Here-esque to me, with their opening track, The Fall Part 1. So at this point, I'm sceptical how the album will continue. As if it is in the vein of Pink Floyd, it's going to be a no-no for me, as I'm just not a Pink Floyd fan. Tormented follows as a second track, with the obligatory android voice at the beginning, and which I think is going to be the theme at the start of each song. Tormented is a bit more upbeat, and the rest of the album is conceptual endeavour. I felt the album grew and got stronger as it went on after the weak beginning for me. However, there is no standout track, and it didn't bring me anything special. I still can't get past the lead vocals out being akin to Pink Floyd, but the music itself is well done. It's a collection of well put together tracks about topics people can relate to. It is listenable, but not an album I would go back to out of choice.
Okay. Right, we're leaving us no choice. We have to go to Dom. Fall of the Shires, mate. What did this do for you?
Oh, not a lot, if I'm honest. I mean, see, I like Pink Floyd. I'm a Pink Floyd fan. And there's definitely some comparisons there, but this was like, I don't know, it's that boring soundscape type prog kind of, yeah, it's just really dull, isn't it? This apparently, because he created this band in order to produce this album, which is the follow-on from a similar album, which he did with another band or something like that. He was so desperate to get this music out. I think he probably should have just left it where it was, if we're honest. And I think Devin Townsend's got something to do with this, doesn't it? Doesn't he? I think I just fell asleep. It was terrible. I didn't really like the theme, and it was kind of, yeah, just passed me by, I'm afraid. Not a fan.
William, Fall of the Shires.
Hello. There are very few genres that I actively dislike and find it hard to listen to at all. And prog and its variations are one of those that I don't get it. I find it so hard to enjoy it, and unfortunately the same is said for this one. I get nothing from listening to it. It's just slow, atmospheric, but not like a good atmospheric. It's not really music to me. So before I start saying anything too mean or offensive to them, I'm going to end it there. I don't like prog. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't like prog either, but I don't think this was too immersive. It flirted with prog. Don't get me wrong, but it was also very. I mean, the trouble with prog music, or I think your typical prog music, is where you know, and I get where you're coming from, because you're associated with the prog music because you couldn't you couldn't get into it, and I think the trouble with prog is that sometimes there's no actual structure. It just goes off in different directions and experimental stuff. This wasn't experimental. There was a huge amount of structure there, and it was incredibly thematic from that side of things as well. And I agree with what Trisha said in terms of. I think it got. Luckily for me, I'm not a fan of Pink Floyd either. And luckily, you're right, Trish. I think it started in that direction. I go, yeah, all right, here we go. It was going to fall into that prog metal. Oh, excuse me. Oh, gosh, that came from nowhere. It flirted with that going down that really kind of darker kind of Pink Floyd kind of prog music, but it didn't. I thought it pulled back. I think it was quite thematic. I think it was engaging, and it was all right. It was a solid album. It was an enjoyable, immersive album. With that, but it was engaging, and I think that's the difference for me for prog rock. Is if I can't engage in it and it goes off, and then I go, what was that all about? But I could understand and relate to what this was trying to do. Yeah, I think they wanted to do a follow-up by Dom to Fall of the Shires, but the band didn't want to do it, and he wanted to do it. He felt it was incompleted. So you know what it's like in life. You want to complete something, and it's something that he wanted to complete. So I thought it was solid. Solid album, nothing outstanding, but I thought it was pretty solid. Right, they're up against Valkeat, Fireborn, folk metal formed in Finland. Members of the band, I don't know much about it. It was really hard, wasn't it, just to find out much about them. We know that their vocals is a guy called Mika, and then you've got other bands called Epu, Alexia on guitars, Huno on bass, and Vesser on drums. But we really know very little about, and it was very hard to find out what this band was about, Fireborn. But I liked the initial sound of them when I listened to one or two tracks, so they got onto the list. Valkeat, Dom, let's start with you there, because we know this sort of music might well float your boat. Then Valkeat, Fireborn, talk to me.
I'm trying to choke down the. I think there's a reason why you can't find out much out of them. Sheer shame and embarrassment on their behalf. They've deleted themselves from the internet. I mean, yeah, folk rock metal from Finland. But is it me, or does it sound a little bit like this album? Sound like the soundtrack to a Disney Viking movie that hasn't been written yet. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a Disney movie in the making, and the vocals are just so wrong. What is up with that guy's voice? It is horrendous. It's just really bad. It might be great in a movie. I look forward to the Disney Viking movie whenever that comes along, and this could be a great soundtrack to it. Not great in my ears, I'm afraid. No. Terrible.
Well, Disney, Vikings. I mean, Will, you've got to love it, haven't you?
Well, I've been known to enjoy Disney and also Vikings, and I think the combination of the two is fantastic. I have slight bias in the fact that Viking culture and Nordic folk music and sound is really fucking cool. Mm-hmm. And I will go away just to listen to just Nordic folk music and combine that with metal. Oh man, this is cool. They've got just traditionally some kind of. I'm going to start saying that again. That went terribly. They combine traditional sort of regular folk metal sounds, but with all that addition of Finnish Nordic instruments. They've got tracks with that classic Viking sort of throat singing, which it's so cool. There's one track, I can't remember the name, and I wouldn't be able to pronounce it if I tried, but the one where it's basically just a pure instrumentally throat singy tune in it, which I think is really cool. I'm not sure how well it works as an album as a whole, but everything it doesn't really flow quite as well like that, but as a collection of folk songs, this is very cool and enjoyable. And Disney, please make this your soundtrack to the next How to Train Your Dragon film. That would be great.
Very true, very true.
This was really fun.
Trish, Disney, Vikings, rock. Tick, tick, tick. No?
Okay. Oh my god. As soon as this album starts with the Celtic music and chanting sounds of my crown, I knew I was going to love this. It's made you feel alive straight away. The album is a pounding Finnish power metal piece of heaven, telling the stories of the magical world of Finland. It's a love letter to their home country. You can picture the wolves running in the falling snow. It immerses you there. There is quite a lot of chanting throughout the album, which is quite hypnotic. Swan Song has you swaying along. It's a full-length, hits you in the face, atmospheric album that is not to be missed.
Wow. Well, this is all about Finnish culture. I think I'm going to get thoroughly bored by it. It's just all right. I agree with Dom. I didn't particularly like his voice. Musically, I think it was really clever. I think it was really some cracking stuff that I hadn't heard before. But I just got a bit bored of it as well. To be honest, it was just all right. It was solid. It was good. It was slightly different, but it wasn't. It didn't excite me because I like my power metal, and I did get a bit of like. I kind of think I've had enough about Finnish culture now by the end of it. So I agree with you, Will. As an album, I'm really not sure it kind of all fitted all together. But there was some interesting stuff on it. I've got to say, and I think it's worth a listen for sure. It's not an album I would certainly go back to. I don't think it was as terrible as Dom was kind of making out. But then when it gets to this sort of stuff, we all know that. Obviously, being a religious man, the paganism is obviously not really floats his boat, of course. I can only think of that because he's got a soul when it gets to this sort of music. Right, okay. Let's find out who's going to win this battle of the bands. Living Protocol or Valkeat, Fall of the Shires or Fireborn. Then, so Trish, let's start with you then. Let's go with Oblivion Protocol.
2.5.
Oh, harsh.
Correct.
Dom.
2.
Harsh. William.
Do I have to? Do I have to speak?
You do.
Uh-oh.
0.
Oh!
I get no pleasure out of prog at all. It's
dagger in the heart. I don't think it was
my Saturday morning cartoon, a villain.
Oh dear. 3.5 from me.
Wow.
That's all right. So we're looking at 4.5, 7, 8. So it's average. Gets an average score somehow. Don't know how. Can't be. There we go. So Valkeat then. Trish, Valkeat.
4.
4.
Loved it.
Dom.
1.
Harsh.
Generous.
William.
3.5.
3 from me. So 7, 10.5, 11.5. Oh, so Valkeat gets it in the battle of the bands and gets a bigger than average score, so it's more than 10 because there's 4 of us. So, Fireborn and Valkeat wins this battle of the bands and solid score for Valkeat. Sorry, Living Protocol. These guys don't have a heart, obviously. So, but hey, I've got you back there. I've got you back. So anyway, guys, if you, it's not always glowing reviews, so we give our honest opinion for our listening pleasure. I hope you like what you've heard. Please like and subscribe if you do. Please check out our channel for loads of cool content, great interviews with up and coming bands. Thank you to my panel, to Trish, to Dom, and to William.
Thank you.
And speak soon. Bye for everybody.
Bye.
Bye.